For over a decade, the alien girl named Sarai had known the world from the height of her chair. She was born among the Elith, a proud people whose bodies were graceful and strong, built for swift running and high leaping in the thin atmosphere of their homeworld. But Sarai had been broken young. An accident, a crushing collapse during a training rite, leaving her from the waist down unable to move. Her people had no cure. Their medicine could heal wounds, close flesh, even regrow some tissue, but the Elith's nervous system was complex, far beyond their current reach. So she was left in the chair, wheeled through life, watching others run, fight, dance, and climb where she could not. To the Elith, strength was life. To be broken was to be pitted, then ignored. Sarai had endured that silence for 10 long years. But everything changed when the humans arrived. ##### the meeting. The Elith had made first contact with humanity only 5 years earlier. They were cautious allies, watching with wary curiosity how humans adapted to alien places, how they made tools that the Elith found both primitive and astonishingly clever. It was in a dusty outpost on the rim of Elith territory that Sarai met him. His name was Daniel Vey, a human engineer attached to the Alliance fleet. He had come to trade and repair equipment, but when he saw Sarai in her chair, he stopped in his tracks. She remembered the way his eyes narrowed, not in pity, but in calculation. "You can't walk?" he asked bluntly. The question stung. Most Elith avoided the subject altogether. Sarai lifted her chin. "No. I haven't walked in 10 years. Instead of apologizing, instead of stepping away, Daniel crouched beside her. "What if I could change that?" ##### the work. Daniel's quarters became a workshop. He scavenged parts from human exosuits, medical braces, and Elith alloys. Sarai came often, skeptical but curious. He spoke to her as though her broken body was not a curse, but a challenge waiting for an answer. "You Elith have muscle strength beyond ours," he explained one night, welding in a shower of sparks. "But your tech doesn't focus on augmentation. It's all healing and organics. Humans, we've always had to build machines to carry us farther. I think I can build you legs." She laughed then, bitter and sharp. "Legs? Do you think I have not dreamed of that every night for 10 years? Daniel didn't flinch. "Dreams are blueprints you haven't built yet." His persistence wore at her walls. Slowly, Sarai found herself staying later, helping however she could, passing tools, testing harness fits, explaining Elith anatomy so the machine could sync with her body. He made mistakes, cursed at misalignments, started over again and again. Yet, he never quit. For the first time in years, Sarai felt her heart lift with hope. #### the first trial. The day came when the prototype was ready. 2 sleek frames of alloy and servos, shaped like Elith legs, with neural interfaces meant to read what little signal still trickled from her damaged spine. Her hands trembled as Daniel secured them to her body. "It might not work," she whispered. "It might," he said simply. She took a breath and tried to stand. The world shifted beneath her. Her legs moved, jerky and uneven, but they moved. Sarai gasped, clutching at the table for balance. Daniel studied her, his eyes shining with restrained triumph. "You're standing," he said. Tears blurred her vision. For 10 years, she had looked up at everyone. Now, at last, she met Daniel's gaze eye to eye. #### learning to walk. The first steps were clumsy. She fell often, the exo legs locking or overcompensating. But Daniel trained her like a patient brother, guiding her with calm words and steady hands. "Again," he would say, "balance with your core. Trust the motion." Her muscles screamed, and used to bearing weight. But every fall only lit her determination brighter. She remembered being young, sprinting across Elith plains, and she hungered for that freedom again. Within weeks, she could walk across the workshop unaided. Within months, she could run. The Elith stared when she returned to her community, walking tall. Some whispered of human trickery. Others looked away in shame for abandoning her so long. But Sarai cared little for their mutters. She could walk again. That was enough. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag a new life. The robotic legs were not just replacements, they were more. Daniel had designed them to amplify her strength, letting her leap higher than she ever had before, letting her run without tiring. For the first time, Sarai joined the hunts again. She crossed cliffs her people thought impassable. She laughed, wild and free, when the wind whipped past her and her legs carried her farther than any Elith beside her. Her people began to see her differently. No longer broken, no longer forgotten. She was something new. A bridge between Elith resilience and human ingenuity. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the question of debt. One evening, after a long day of training, Sarai sat beside Daniel under the alien stars. Her legs gleamed faintly in the starlight. "You gave me back my life," she said softly. "Why?" Daniel shrugged. "Because I could. Because no one should be trapped when there's another way." She turned to him, her throat tight. "Then I am yours. My people may not understand, but I do. 10 years, I lived as a shadow. You gave me back the sun." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "You don't owe me anything, Sarai. Just live. That's payment enough." Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the future. Word spread beyond her village. Other Elith who had suffered crippling injuries came to see her, to ask about the human's invention. Daniel began teaching Elith smiths and healers how to build their own devices, how to merge machine and flesh to restore what had been lost. Sarai became a symbol, not of weakness, but of possibility. She walked among her people not as one pitted, but as one reborn. Children ran after her, begging to see her leap into the air with her gleaming legs. Warriors nodded to her with respect. Elders whispered that perhaps the humans were not just allies, but kin of spirit. And every time she walked, every time her feet touched the ground, Sarai remembered the chair, the years of stillness, and the man who had looked at her brokenness and seen not despair but a challenge. For 10 years she had been bound. Now, with each step, she carried not only herself, but the proof of what was possible when two worlds worked as one. Sarai often wondered if she still dreamed, if she might wake again to the silence of her old chair. But then she would take another step, feel the earth steady beneath her, and know it was real. She was walking. She was free. And the future stretched before her, wide as the plains she once only watched from afar.